So now let's assume that you're a grandparent. You just had that first, maybe the second, maybe the third grandchild. What should you be thinking about? What's the checklist? What are the issues to think about?
So what is this about? This is a photo of
Here
Mike.
we are.
Yeah, Mike, my mom, Myra, and their new grandchild, Miles.
Here's Miles. At age 18, no doubt he's going to be able to manage money. I mean, who knows? Great kid, but who knows? So we want to be a little bit circumspect. We want to plan protectively. We want to set things up in a very wise, protective way. First of all, we all have an estate plan. I'm sure we do. You need to make sure that your documents are up to date. You have a new family member. You may want to provide for some direct distribution for the benefit of that child, thinking protectively about it being in a trust, thinking through the age at which that child gets access to that money, if ever. Is it for education? Is it for health? What are the objectives? So you review your plan, you think about whether or not you want to do something very proactive on behalf of that newborn. To some extent, you're coordinating that with your kid, the parents of that child. If they have a lot of money, it's one thing. If they have very little money, it's another. So again, every situation is different. Don't look at it generically. Think about it in terms of your family and what the needs are. First of all, is your trust up to date? Does it say the right things? If you haven't looked at it in a few years, even if you didn't just have a grandchild, it's very likely it's out of date in some way. So you need to review that anyway. But again, here's let's call it the springboard, the opportunity, the motivation to get together with us or the attorney of your choice and take a fresh look at things and make sure that it all makes sense. You have a retirement plan, you have a 401k, a 403b, whatever it is. Who are the beneficiaries? Did you say that if you leave it to your kids, that the grandkids step in at some point if, God forbid, one of our children should predecease us? Do you have life insurance? Who's the beneficiary? Has that been integrated with your overall tax and estate plan? We want to think about this multi-generationally, not just for my kids, but for my grandkids as well. Now, creating family protection trusts for our kids, in a very real sense, that is planning primarily for the grandkid. When you leave assets to a child in this type of a trust, assets in that trust are protected and will stay with your child in the event that he or she ever endures a divorce. It's like doing a prenup or a postnup for that child. And that means that the money is ultimately going to be there for your grandchild. What if your child is sued? If money is in this family protection or dynasty trust, that child's assets in that trust are going to be protected. Again, ultimately there for the grandchild. If your child inherits that money directly and is sued, that money could evaporate if that child is unsuccessful in defending a lawsuit. So again, we're thinking about the next generation. Tax is the big one. If you leave assets directly to your child, those assets are part of your child's estate. If they're smart and lucky, their estate grows. When they pass away, all that money is exposed to the estate tax. The current level of estate tax is very high. It's about $12.92 million per person.
Estate tax protection. The estate tax is very high if you're over that limit. So we have a lot of protection right now.
Yeah, that's the level of protection. So in 2026, and this is a vitally important point, the level of protection is going to drop to about $6.5 million per person. Still a lot, but if we just happen to own a home in this area and have a retirement plan, that could put you at $7-8 million, whether you like it or not, whether you feel rich or not. Just living here means that we have a larger estate. It comes with the territory. When we are planning like this, we leave assets in our child's in this trust for our child. That money is there. It grows without limit and passes to the grandchildren without exposure to estate tax. In some cases, this saves hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars. It's a logical step you would take for your kids, but it's for the grandkids in a very real sense. 529 plans. These, as you probably know, are education plans. It's another way of using that annual exclusion and sometimes more. You can put up to $17,000 a year into a 529 plan, which means it's a tax advantaged plan. The money's not exposed to tax, which is really good. It does have to be used only for education. In most states, it's only higher education. In California, we have a bit more flexibility. You can even use it here for homeschooling, for the cost of homeschooling with limitations. But the point is, it's for education. And one of the concerns we have is that what if your child doesn't use it up, doesn't go to college? You never know. It can be used for trade school, but what if they don't? A 529 plan can be rolled over to a Roth IRA, can be rolled over into a special account if a child happens to be disabled. So there are opportunities there. But why do we think the crummy trust is better? So let me tell you what a crummy trust is. This is a trust that is created typically for the benefit of a grandchild or a child to let the grandparents and anyone else take advantage of the $17,000 annual exclusion. This is the amount of money you can give away and not have to report it to the IRS. It doesn't erode your lifetime level of estate and gift tax protection. So a married couple, grandma and grandpa can put away $34,000 a year for each grandchild in a crummy trust. There would be one crummy trust for each grandchild. One of the main reasons I prefer crummy trust for the benefit of a grandchild, as opposed to the 529 plan, is the money can be used for education, but it can also be used for health. It can be used for housing. You don't have that limitation. You can use it to pay room and board when a child is at school. So again, much greater flexibility with regard to the use of the money. Now, it's not tax advantaged, but it's always a trade-off. That's just one factor. We want to take a comprehensive look at what the probable needs of a grandchild will be. The other thing is, while the 529 plan, you kind of age out when you're done with education, that's it. Then you got to do something with any money remaining. With a crummy trust, you can have that trust remain in place, holding money till the grandchild is 30, 35, 40, the age of your choice. You'd probably have your child, the parent of the grandchild, be the trustee of that trust. So again, tremendously flexible. We favor it in most circumstances. We don't want to use Uniform Transfer to Minors Act accounts. That's where you put money into an account for a kid. Very attractive. It's so simple. But that kid gets the money at age 18 or maybe 21 at the most. Not usually a good idea. I mean, if it's a very small amount, don't worry about it. But if it builds up, that can be downright destructive. The child can just waste that money. So, we want to be a little bit protective. We want to be careful. So we discourage the use of Uniform Transfer to Minors Act accounts. Look at crummy trust. 529 plans are, of course, okay.
Family protection trust. So if you're a grandparent, you need to set this up. If you leave money to your child directly and they get divorced, if they've commingled it, a big chunk could be lost to their ex-spouse. If it's in a family protection trust, it should be protected. It should not be lost in a divorce settlement. If your child is sued and they inherit money directly, fair game. There's no protection for those assets. If it's in a family protection trust, there's a barrier. There's a high level of protection against potential litigants. Most lawsuits end up settling out of court, and they'd settle for a lot less if they see a protective trust that they'd have to break to get through. 3, really powerfully. Even if you don't consider yourself to have a larger estate, think of when you leave it to your kids, if they invest it well and it doubles or triples during their life, the assets could grow dramatically, especially if they're protected from divorce and lawsuits. If you leave it to them directly, it could be subject to estate taxes. Millions could be lost. If it's in a family protection trust, all or most, depending on some limits, should go to your grandkids estate tax free. And if you allow it, your child can be their own trustee. They can be in charge of it. So it's not like you're tying your kids' hands forever. Now, if they're younger, for grandkids, you can always set up these trusts as well. And you can put age restrictions where someone else is in charge of it for them until they reach the age that you choose. And really importantly, these trusts continue through the lives of your children and your grandchildren, and even part of the lives of your great-grandchildren. So I just want to summarize, if you have new grandkids, Mike talked about 529 plans. We touched on this. If you have a new grandchild with a disability, you have to set up a special needs trust. Either your kids need to set it up for that child, or you as a grandparent can even set up that special needs trust and coordinate planning with your kids. So anything they leave can go to the same special needs trust you set up.
You may want your grandchild to go to a private school, for example, whatever that school may be. You can pay the tuition and you don't have to report that to the IRS. It doesn't erode your lifetime gift and estate tax protection. So you think about paying tuition for anybody and medical bills directly for anybody, along with the use of the $17,000 annual exclusion to support someone without incurring any potential tax limitations or tax penalties. So very smart to think about that. Not a lot of money sometimes, but it has a huge impact, and it helps your kids out if you're paying some of the cost of living that could be huge for medical bills or tuition for a grandchild.
There you have it. If you have a new grandchild, you need to revisit your plan. You need to make sure that you have the right backup trustees and that you're including your grandchildren the right way in case, God forbid, one of your kids predeceases you, or if you just want to help them out directly. And we talked about how you can protect assets for your grandkids. Take action. You can contact us. It's easy to find us, gilfix.com, 650-493-8070. You can join our large and growing client community. We serve people throughout the state of California, anywhere from San Diego to Wairika. And of course, subscribe to our Gilfix Law YouTube channel for more free legal educational videos. And if you have a comment or question, if you're watching this as recording, leave that comment, leave that question. We'll try to get back to you.